Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for National Apprenticeship Week and our last session of the week. It's exploring effective strategies around post-secondary transition for adult learners. We have two rock star presenters with us today, Michelle Perry and Chrissie Klinger. So I'm going to turn it over to them.
Thank you, Bethel. Welcome. Today's webinar will look at how you can use links and its resources to explore how you can address post-secondary transition challenges for adult learners. So our agenda today, first we'll be looking at the different components of links and how you can use them for professional development, with particular focus on resources related to career pathways, post-secondary transitions, and apprenticeships. We'll take a closer look at the links community group specifically focused on those topics, and then we will explore the PD guides, which can help you navigate links for whatever your needs or purposes are. And finally, we'll end with some Q&A. Hello. My name is Michelle Perry. I am a senior technical assistance consultant at the American Institutes for Research, and also the links community lead for the links Technical Assistance Center. Chrissie?
Hi, welcome everyone. We're so excited. This is the last day of Apprenticeship Week, and feel free to use the chat to tell us who you are and where you're from, what your role is. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about myself now, and then I'll talk a little bit more later about some of the roles I play. But I work full-time at Penn State at the Institute for the Study of Adult Literacy, and I do professional development and technical assistance across the Commonwealth. But today I'm in my links moderator role for our career pathways and post-secondary transitions group. And one of the things that I just want to point out before we really get going with the items that we're going to share is that there's really not a cookie cutter approach to helping adult learners access post-secondary education and training. Every learner has different needs and barriers and desires and different skills and strengths that they bring. And every career pathway is a little bit different too. So we're excited that apprenticeship is one way to access post-secondary training and get that support through employment. But as we go through different things today, we're going to share different ways to use professional development to sort of build out your toolbox for supporting adult learners with post-secondary. So, we'll be putting some things in the chat. We encourage you to ask questions as we go along in the chat. We'll be happy to pause and stop as needed. And we're, again, really excited to be here. And it's great to see such a wide variety of people here today. I see corrections, I see IELC and IET, I see, community colleges, adult education programs. So again, all of us working in many different capacities to help increase the amount of adults we have entering into post-secondary and apprenticeships.
Great, thank you for that context, Chrissie. So first, we're going to dive into a little bit of the background of links. For those who don't know, links stands for the Literacy Information and Communication System, which is an initiative of the U.S. Department of Education's Office of Career, Technical, and Adult Education, or OCTAE. So links is made up of 5 components: the community of practice, the learning portal, the resource collection, state resources, and the learner center. Each of these components provides high quality and on-demand educational opportunities for adult educators, administrators, and state staff to help them support their adult learners transition to post-secondary education in the workforce. The links community, it's available and free to join. It will connect you with others in the adult education field. It allows you to network, share strategies, ideas, and best practices with others across the country. There are multiple webinars and guest moderated discussions each month. with certificates provided for those live events. Some states allow you to apply those certificates towards your PD credits. An account is required, but it is free, and it opens up a range of opportunities to connect and learn from peers across the country. So we have 13 topical community groups. Each one is moderated by experts in the field, and you can join one or as many of these groups as you want. Chrissie, as she mentioned, is one of our moderators. She's our moderator for the Career Pathways and Post-Secondary Transitions group, and she'll be talking a little bit more about the group and what they do a little bit later. The next component in links is the learning portal. This is our courses. It provides access to online courses for adult educators. You can explore over 30 self-paced online courses. They're available at any time whenever you need them. Users can register for each course at any point, take as much time or as little time as you need to complete each course, and then you can download a certificate of completion for documentation when you're finished. And Chrissie's putting the link to the overall links site in the chat right now. And there's the QR code on screen as well. So there are 34 available courses right now. Here's a list of the topics that the courses fall under. We have several free courses for the Career Pathways group right now, including one on creating adult pre-apprenticeships, which can help providers design new pre-apprenticeship programs, support providers who are refining existing pre-apprenticeship programs, or those who are implementing similar integrated education and training programs. Here's a couple of our newly updated self-directed courses. As I mentioned, while we have several courses related to career pathways, there are also other self-paced courses under other topics, such as the newly redesigned project-based science instruction for career preparation that may also be of use to your learners transitioning into the workforce. The next component is the links resource collection. This is a treasure trove of resources. We have over 800 fully vetted resources for a variety of audiences, including many instructional resources, program management resources. If you go to the website, and if we get a chance, we'll show that to you a little bit later, you can refine the resources by topic area. You can refine by career pathways and post-secondary transitions, and the resources most relevant will come up for you to use. You can also search by keyword. So if you type in apprenticeships, you'll come across a variety of resources related to apprenticeships. So we are always looking for new relevant resources to add to the collection. And part of being familiar with links is we want to see what you're using successfully in the field. So if you have a resource that you use in your program or in your state successfully, and it's a useful tool or research or report that is passed around in your state, we encourage you to submit it to be reviewed to be added to our resource collection. It goes through a review process, and we have several experts who review based on a rubric, and they'll determine if it is qualified to be added to our resource collection. So we have that link here for that.
Michelle, actually, can you go back one more thing to
Absolutely.
mention about the resource collection? When we're vetting those resources, we always want them to be free resources. So again, as Michelle mentioned, we want to have those on there. They've been looked at by multiple experts, and then when you access it, you're not having to pay a fee or do a subscription or something to use that resource. So, we're always trying to build that out. And also too, like, as some older resources get updated, we want to make sure we have those newer versions. So like an example, many, many years ago, we had the Career Pathways Toolkit in the resource collection. And then as like WIA, Workforce Innovation Act, turns into WIOA, Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, we see that that resource is a little outdated, and everyone kind of came together, updated that, so we get those updated resources in there. So thinking about if you have resources that you feel would be a good fit, maybe thinking about, are they free, like how recent are they, so that we have, again, that a high quality resource collection.
Absolutely. Thank you for bringing that up. The idea of links is that they're high quality free resources for use. So making sure that everything that we have is readily and freely accessible for use in the adult education field, and there's not an extra cost burden for those using it. So thank you for calling that out. Our next component is the state resources. There are two components of the state resources, technical assistance and federal initiatives. We support states at intensive, targeted, and universal TA levels. For example, we have monthly Wednesday universal webinars, topics around digital literacy, diversity, equity, inclusion, student recruitment, and citizenship, just to name a few. We have targeted technical assistance where we work with states and cohorts on assessments, adult education teacher competencies, and more, and an intensive level of technical assistance, such as trauma-informed instruction and adult education, integrated and contextualized instruction, and more. One thing to note, the state resource is free at each of these levels, but it must be requested by the state adult education office. And they would go to our website here and submit a simple TA request form. The federal initiatives is another treasure trove of resources. You'll find the first sort of national sharing of many of the OCTAE-sponsored professional development initiatives. We have several new initiatives that have been added to the federal initiatives page, such as the Advanced IET Project, Reentry Education Toolkit, the DRAW Project, the EARN Project, Standards in Action. Each of these federal initiatives has a page on links where you can find a variety of information and additional free resources, information that they have developed and put out through their projects. And finally is the Learner Center. This is the only website in the links suite which is targeted directly to learners. The other four components that I just talked about are primarily for educators, administrators, professional developers, those in the programs, state office. The Learner Center is a place where you can direct your students and they can get access to vetted resources, their federal sites, federally funded resources to learn skills. They can hear the topics that are available. They can learn to read, learn about math, science, English, get job skills, become a US citizen, and stay healthy. These are high quality resources freely available. And we encourage our adult educators to incorporate the use of the Learner Center and share it with their adult learners. So next I am going to turn it over to Chrissie to talk a little bit more about the Career Pathways and Post-Secondary Transitions Group.
Thank you, Michelle. So as I mentioned, I do serve as the moderator for the Links Career Pathways and Post-Secondary Group. And I've spent over 2 decades in adult education. I started as a tutor, spent time as a classroom teacher, program director. The last 5 years I've been serving, again, statewide in Pennsylvania for professional development and technical assistance. I recently moved into a role of overseeing 2 of our professional development leadership projects. So one is on our workforce development project, where I help adult education programs work collaboratively with their WIOA partners. And I also now oversee the integrated education and training project that we have here in Pennsylvania. So we have a dedicated project to support our adult education programs with understanding what integrated education and training, or IET, is, how to set up an IET with partners and implement that IET and help individuals be successful with their career pathway. Another thing I'll mention in Pennsylvania is that we do have a strong focus on apprenticeship. So our state plan really calls out apprenticeship and pre-apprenticeship. So we're seeing a lot of opportunities to look at pre-apprenticeships that also could be IET as well. We also have IELCE programs. I saw we had some people on here today doing IELCE. And again, all of our IELCE programs in Pennsylvania offer IET programming. And I know that we have many states here that started with IET through IELCE. We also have quite a few people on here today from corrections and reentry. Again, I am a certified offender workforce development specialist and do a lot of work across our Commonwealth of Pennsylvania around reentry, but we also have a really great reentry group in links as well. So a lot of times you'll see our 2 groups do live events and discussions together, because we are seeing that a lot of our individuals that are coming back home can really benefit from work training programs, and especially apprenticeships. The structure, the mentoring, and the increase in the wages over time are all really great pieces to helping reduce that recidivism and keep individuals engaged in the workforce and advancing along a career pathway. So as Michelle mentioned, we have a few different federal projects. I do serve as a subject matter expert for the advanced IET and the IET in corrections. And it's really been interesting to see the different ways, again, that IET can accelerate and really change the work that we do and really help learners get into these self-sustaining entry-level positions and then move further. And as I mentioned, this is a great time during apprenticeship week to really think about career pathways and, where are different points in the pathway that are a good fit for apprenticeship or pre-apprenticeship. So as we go through some of the different resources today, I'm going to pull in some of my own personal expertise, but also in the work that I do across our state and across the country, just sharing how important professional development for your adult education practitioners is to being able to support adult learners with transitioning to post-secondary, whether that be into apprenticeship or pre-apprenticeship, or other career pathways like IET or on-the-job training, or even going into community college. So next slide, please, Michelle. So as Michelle mentioned, we have many different groups in links and in what we call our community. So to join the Career Pathways and Post-Secondary Transitions group, you would create that links account, click on that community, and then say that you want to join. And one of the things that's important with any group you join is really thinking about how often you want to get updates. So you can get updates into your email inbox so you don't miss different things. So you want to be sure to set that up so that you're getting those updates and not missing out on the different discussions and events that are going on. We also have what are called bulletins. So again, as different resources come out, we'll put them out in our group as a bulletin. And so if you're getting those updates to your inbox, you won't miss some of that. So for example, this past week, we were able to share some integrated education and training briefs that were just released. So, you know, when you go to our groups, they're kind of like at the top of that, and they're there as a bulletin. And then again, if you're a member, you're getting those updates. The other really neat thing about being a member is that you can get into the discussion threads and you can create your own discussion. So you don't have to wait for me as a moderator to start talking about something that you're interested in. So as you think about supporting adults and you're starting to maybe see some new barriers maybe that adults are facing for post-secondary, or you're not quite sure how other areas of the country help adults with digital literacy and, you know, applying for jobs online and, you know, making sure that they have the digital literacy skills that they need to get the jobs that they're interested in. You can create your own discussion post as a community member and ask your peers to provide some information. So there you can see the screenshot, just gives an overview of the different types of topics we cover in this group. So actually just this beginning of the month, before we actually hit Apprenticeship Week, we had a guest hosted discussion event, which was focused on the Equitable Apprenticeship Toolkit. And so we had the toolkit shared, we had different conversation going on. So that is in there. And again, we're always trying to put things out ahead of when it's happening. So we want to make sure that you had those resources as it relates to apprenticeship and pre-apprenticeship, so that when we get to this week of apprenticeship and pre-apprenticeship, you're ready to really dig into that with adult learners and with your partners as well. Next slide. So as we mentioned, it's a place for you to ask questions and share expertise. We encourage you to read current and previous discussions. So as Michelle mentioned on the resource collection having a search feature, our discussion boards also have a search feature. So right now, with it being Apprenticeship Week and we just did an apprenticeship discussion, apprenticeship items are right at the top when you log into the discussion group. However, it may have been a while since we talked about the FAFSA, and typically FAFSA, the Federal Application for Financial Aid, would be released October 1st of every year, but this year it's in December. So, you know, if you're like, oh, I missed stuff for financial aid, now all of a sudden students are interested in, you know, looking at post-secondary options, and you need some resources, you can put items in the search feature of our community groups, and that will get you to different discussions around that topic. So as Michelle said, if we have time at the end, we will go into the actual live web page and show you a little bit of that. If we don't have time to do that, we definitely encourage you to think about doing this as a small group in your organization, you know, like pulling up the Links website and going through and talking about some of the different ways to access information. And again, we'll talk a little bit more at the end on, you know, the best ways to use Links for professional development and to help your whole group find the things that they need to. Next slide. So, for any events that are coming up, they're going to be, you know, over there on the right-hand side, and then you can always go to the events page, and I'll put that link in here in a moment. I didn't get to post the December event yet, but it'll be on later today. So in our group in December, we're going to do like a 12 days of career pathways. So every day for 12 days, we're going to share some information and resources around career pathways. So ours will be a discussion event in December, but then we'll have plenty of live events coming up as well. We do not record our live events at Links. So what we do instead is try to do a recap in the community. So if you do miss a live event, we encourage you to come back to the community to grab some of those resources and information if you can't make the event live. So I'm going to turn things back over to Michelle for a little bit. And like I said, I'll put some more links in the chat, and feel free to continue to ask questions in the chat, and we'll be happy to answer as we go along.
Thank you, Chrissie. And I'll mention, while we don't currently record our events, we are looking into recording some of the events moving into the future, some of the more popular, for lack of a better term, topics that are more relevant to larger groups of people. So stay tuned for that, and we'll be sharing more information as that becomes available. So right now, we're going to take a look at the professional development guide. It can be overwhelming as a program or a teacher, educator, knowing where to go and how to use links if you've never done it before. So we've created the professional development guides to help with this. It connects all 5 components of links and provides a pathway for finding the best place to start with the most relevant resources in each area of links. So we have one professional development guide for each topical area listed here, and you'll notice that these align with the 13 community groups. Each guide highlights a few resources from each component as a quick and easy place to start, to jump in when you don't know where to go, and to find those relevant resources you need for professional development. In order to access the PD guides, go to our main links page, scroll to the bottom, and click on the About Links section, and there'll be a list of all 13 professional development guides. We've provided QR codes here to access all the guides, as well as the one that goes directly to the Career Pathways and Post-Secondary Transitions guide. So this is what they look like when you go there and select the Career Pathways and Post-Secondary Transitions group. So it'll open up into a PDF in your browser, and all of the blue underlined are hyperlinked. So you'll be able to go directly there. We've also created them in a format that, if you so choose, you can print them out and share them with your staff or your program, and we have we'll be adding a URL there for printed versions of it later. So now we're going to go and take a look at what's part of the Career Pathways and Post-Secondary Transitions PD guide. Chrissie?
Thank you. And I did put the link to this in the chat, so hopefully everyone can grab that. So again, what we want you to think about is, in supporting adult learners with that transition to post-secondary, every learner is a little bit different. All of your programs operate a little different in your parts of the country, or parts of your local community, who your post-secondary partners are. So professional development is really important to helping your staff work together, not just with the adult learner, but also with the different partners, okay? So this first part of this professional development guide, you'll see that the target audience for this one is pretty broad, because this work can't be done in adult education alone. So not only, is links intended for adult education, and, it's coming out of OCTE, some of the resources that we are providing within this group specifically are really for other partners as well. So when you're thinking about the professional development for your staff in adult ed, you may also want to think about how can you do some cross-training and use these resources with partners as well. So if you've got different policymakers, again, post-secondary education partners, other WIOA workforce partners, looking at these different resources and thinking about how can we spend some time doing professional development so that we're all using effective research-based approaches to helping adults be successful with their transition into the workforce or moving on to training. So when we get to this next part here, as we had talked earlier, we have courses. So the courses are free and on demand, which means someone can log in and complete the course. So if they start the course and need to pause, it will save where they're at so they can come back to it. So you'll see ACP, which stands for Adult Career Pathways, and we have several courses, and you'll want to maybe especially tune into that Creating Adult Pre-Apprenticeship. So again, that one's an 8-hour course, so it's nice to have it on demand and be able to break it down and do that course in pieces. But you'll also see there again the target audience. So that pre-apprenticeship one definitely is great to allow partners to know that that's available, because pre-apprenticeship and also IET really require a partner approach and a team, and it's not just adult ed doing all of the work. So you have the different courses as one way to do professional development, and then we'll go to the next slide. As Michelle mentioned, we have the Learner Center. So again, looking at how can we as an adult education program do some PD around helping our staff get in and be familiar with this Learner Center, and talk about how we're going to take a coordinated approach to helping learners access specific resources. So again, understanding your audience, the learners that you work with, what are some of the key resources in the Learner Center that might be helpful, and how do you help them use their digital literacy skills to get onto that website and use those resources effectively. And then we'll go to the next slide. And then we have our resource collection. So as Michelle said, yes, individually, different adult education practitioners or partners can go on and search, but think about how you might take some of these resources and use them as a whole group in a meaningful way together. So a few that I just want to highlight here: the innovative practices around bridge programming and IET. So again, looking at concrete examples of things that are working in other places, really helpful examples there that you can look at and say, can we totally replicate that, or could we take pieces of that? And then another resource that's on here that's actually been a newer resource that's been added to our collection is the Personal and Workplace Success Skills Library. So you don't want to just say, oh, that looks great, let's just give that URL to our students and they can go find things that'll help them be successful in the workplace. It is helpful for us and to work with our partners to really hone in, again, what's the audience that we're working with? What might be the best tools here for them as they're working towards their goals, and what types of training and education is available. And then we also have, just the last one that I'll point out is the Train the Trainer and the IET toolkit. So we've had IET Basic Design Camp. We're now currently running Advanced Design Camp. But if you're still trying to build up in your local area or your state around IET, there's Train the Trainer resources. So all of the guides are there to help you be able to do that work in your local area. So as Michelle posted in the chat, we're just in these PD guides highlighting a few things that we know right now are hot topics for adult education and are, again, excellent resources to helping adults progress from adult ed to other career pathway and post-secondary options. So this isn't everything that our group has to offer, but it's just highlighting some of the top resources.
Thank you. And then we're going to move on to the last couple sections of the PD guides, state resources. Again, these are facilitated professional development opportunities that states would request directly. The ones listed here, we do have online virtual options that can be requested and provided to your staff. Reaching out to someone from the state would reach out to links, and we could provide access to the online modules, or if needed, provide some additional targeted training um, to your state team. All of that information, how to access that, is available in these PD guides, and how to do that. These are listed here are some of the options for some of the virtual trainings that you can take as a cohort. As Chrissy had mentioned before, integrating employability skills, looking at new materials on rigor, digital literacy, and career pathways from Links ESL Pro, and then models and resources for preparing adult English language learners for the workforce. So those are some of the relevant modules that we're highlighting here. And then again, the federal initiatives were these are these federal initiatives, similar to Links, providing resources through the resource collection and events through the community and the courses. These federal initiatives are all creating and developing new resources regularly. They have, as I mentioned earlier, they have active pages on Links where they're sharing and promoting that information. And being a member of the Links community, you will receive communications, announcements anytime one of these federal initiatives shares new resources or information. So that's another benefit for becoming engaged in Links. So we're going to look at some use case scenarios, how you can use some of these resources.
So Michelle, if you don't mind, I'm going to switch screen and actually use the Links website to go ahead, since we have time to go through these different case scenarios. So while I'm switching screens, if I could ask everyone that is here today in the chat, maybe just list one barrier that you see adult learners facing in getting into a post-secondary program, whether that be possibly pre-apprenticeship, apprenticeship, IET, going into a trade or career and tech program, community college, a four-year college. What's something that you see as being, a difficult piece to an adult learner in our program transitioning to that? So while people are thinking about that and typing that in the chat, I'll work on bringing up the Links website here. All right, Michelle, if you could just confirm, are we seeing the Links website okay?
Yes.
Great. Let's make it full sense.
And some of the challenges that we're seeing in the chat right now are lack of digital skills, money, transportation, getting to and from training, lack of math skills, social, emotional health, work, family, school, schedule balance, even with a GED or high school diploma, not being academically prepared. Those are just some of the things that have come in so far.
All right, so let's kind of think about this. So we are trying to help adult learners transition. We're trying to support our staff with helping adult learners transition. So let's look at, adult education instructors. So we know that they're spending a lot of time on lesson planning and, actually teaching. And in many situations, they're also serving as that support person to overcome barriers. I mean, we have seen that in some states, we have separate staff that is doing navigator or student support type work, but in other states that falls on the teacher to do all of that. So to come to the Links website and try to search through everything, yes, we have great search tools, but that could be a little bit overwhelming. So when we're thinking about helping instructors, what might be a good idea is to pick something that you want your group of instructors to focus on and sort of do a professional learning community or study circle around that. So maybe you want to have all of your instructors go into a discussion that's on Links, and you want them to read the discussion. You want them to look at some of the resources that are there for the discussion. And then you want them to come together as a group of teachers and think about how they might use some of what they learned in that discussion to implement that in the classroom to support the learners. You might also have a course that they all take, and then together, again, they meet and discuss the course and talk about different ways that they want to use pieces of the course or resources that they gained in the course in the classroom. Another thing to keep in mind with teachers, if you do have a fairly large staff of teachers, or if you have a few small literacy programs in an area and you guys can do some PD together or work in a consortium, you could do like a puzzle type of effect where you might have one teacher explore a certain resource, another teacher explore another resource, and then they're, spending their time looking at that resource, pulling out what they feel is most applicable that other teachers could use and in the classroom with the students, and then coming together and sharing some of those items. So again, instead of having all of your teachers just randomly going into links and looking at different things, having a more focused approach of, what you want them to look at and how you want them to use that and how you want them to work together to kind of build out these different strategies. So if we are in the career pathways group, as I mentioned, we're going to be having a discussion event. So sometimes we have discussion events, sometimes we just have regular discussions. So we just finished up a discussion event. So here you can see where it does talk about the equitable apprenticeship and the toolkit, and you can see our guest speakers are there. Now, I purposefully didn't log in because my login is going to look a little different because I am a moderator, but you can see the discussion and you can access the resources without logging in. However, I cannot engage in the conversation and ask questions or share ideas if I have not logged in. As I mentioned earlier, maybe you come to discussions and I see someone had asked about maybe learning disabilities, and that being barrier to individuals having success once they transition. So here I can enter those keywords and I see a few items come up, but let's say I look at some of these things and it's still not really what I'm wondering. So maybe I really am more wanting to know, have other people worked with students that have dyslexia, and what kinds of jobs have those students been successful in obtaining? You can create your own discussion. So again, you would have to log in, with your links account. You'd have to be a member of the group, but then you could create that discussion and ask that question to your peers. So again, as an adult education instructor, if you're not really in a larger group and have that structured professional development, or you don't have mentors or other people to talk to, and you don't really find what you're looking for, but you want to grow in a certain area and you want to better support your students, I really encourage you to start your own discussion. So all of the moderators are able to see any posts that are put into their group. So the moderators can definitely add resources if other group members don't chime in and provide information. The other thing too is that particular topic someone was saying about the disabilities and the dyslexia, maybe you pose the same question in two different communities. So we do have a disabilities and group here, so learners with disability. So you could put that in there into both groups. And again, you would have to log in and be a member of both groups to be able to start a discussion in both groups. So I just want to pause so far as I kind of talk through some of the things that teachers could be doing to build up their skills around supporting learners. Any questions? Feel free to put those in the chat. So I'll then start talking about another way to use links if you're not a teacher. You maybe have a different role. All right, I don't see anything in the chat yet. Michelle, if you notice anything, go ahead and stop me. So for those of you that are program administrators, we do have not only a professional development group, but a program management group. But again, thinking about taking that professional development guide. So as Michelle said, going to the links main page, and you're scrolling all the way down to about links, and then you're able to go to those PD guides. And maybe as a program administrator, you're wanting to, work better with partners, and you realize that your staff needs to be working with these partners to help the students have that successful transition. So maybe you're looking at this PD guide as an administrator and figuring out, what would be the best items to have our staff and maybe even some partner staff do a cross training together and work through together. Again, a really great resource is the Career Pathways Toolkit. And we've done a whole lengthy discussion around that toolkit. It's in the resource area. It's highlighted in many different places throughout links, but it's definitely got some great tools in there that you can pull out. So you as an administrator might be able to pull specific things from a resource and take that back and use that to help you organize and make a plan with your staff, recognize some different gaps, and see what needs to be done to fill those gaps to help students successfully transition into post-secondary options. And then finally, as a professional development instructor, so if you're someone who is setting up and providing professional development in your organization, in your state, or otherwise, these PD guides are a great place to start, again, to be able to pick out some different things, but also, coming back to the different communities and being able to, go into that community where other people are doing similar work that you're doing. So being able to talk with other peers that are on the professional development side of things. And, I saw also that someone put in about the digital literacy skills for adult learners and how important it is for those digital skills to be able to transition to post-secondary. But we also need to have staff with good digital literacy skills that can help them help the adult learners. So again, looking at how we can use links and our different communities to pull things together that will be research-based and have been evidence-based and used, and give our teachers some concrete examples and targeted activities to do to support them in supporting their adult learners. So as we think about these different strategies to help adult learners be successful in post-secondary transitions, one of the most important strategies we can use is to make sure that the staff working with those adult learners is well-versed in career pathways. Do this staff fully understand career pathways and what that means and what's available in your local area? Do they understand that apprenticeship is, really in the employer's control? So you can't really just send somebody to apprenticeship, right? You can help somebody enroll in a post-secondary program at a community college, but apprenticeship, you really have to work with your workforce partners. They need to know which employers are offering apprenticeship, and an employer needs to interview and make sure that that individual is a good fit for apprenticeship. So sometimes we've even seen that certain employers have some jobs that are apprenticeship track, some that are entry level. And so again, employer might have many different pathways to get into different positions within their company. And how do we help our adult educators and our support staff and our navigators fully understand those pathways and the steps that it takes individuals to get into those different pathways? As we mentioned earlier, many of our adult learners that want to access post-secondary education and training will need some financial assistance with that. And FAFSA, or the federal aid, is not the only way. So again, apprenticeship is a great way to get education and training, and you learn and you earn and you don't have debt. But not everybody's going to make it into an apprenticeship. So, IET, there's a lot of ways to braid funding and have adult learners go through IET at no cost to them, to be able to get training, come out with a credential and start a pathway, or even come into, 1 or 2 steps along the pathway. But, really understanding those pathways and working with partners will be the best way that you can support adult learners, because every learner is going to have different barriers and different areas that they want support on. And as you see that list in the chat, your agency might have one person that they're trying to work with that has dyslexia, but that doesn't mean you don't still need to help that one person. So what resources are out there? How can we connect with partners to help that individual, and make that, as we sometimes say, warm handoff into their journey into post-secondary. So I'm going to let Michelle get back to our PowerPoint and start to close this out, but I definitely I want you to continue to put some questions in. We still have a few minutes. We'll continue to monitor the chat.
And I actually just wanted to show one more thing, just make one more plug for, I'm going to bring the website back up again. So we talked about the resource collection a couple times. And it's links.ed.gov/resource-collection. We can put that in the chat. But just to show you, if you haven't been here, how easy it is to navigate. So once you go there, on the left-hand side, we have the topical areas, we have product type. So if you click on career pathways and post-secondary transitions, it pulls up 292 results. And you'll notice that it has an image of the resource, the title, the date, the type of publication it is. And then you can click into it and it gives you a whole host of other information about it: abstract, benefits and uses, resource notice, links to other keywords and resources. I'll go back to the main resource collection page, and typing in apprenticeships and searching, we have much fewer results, and you'll notice that the dates are relatively old. So I am going to put another plug in there for, we are looking for resources. If you come across anything that's useful, you can go to the resource collection and click on about the collection at the top, and then review process on the left side. And if you scroll to the bottom, there's a link to suggest a new resource. And this is the form. This is it. So you'd put the information in, the type of resource, a description, authors. You do not need to be the author of the resource. It can just be a free resource that you found useful, and put all that information in and save it, and it gets submitted and put into our queue for review. So I just wanted to mention that there one more time. So I'm going to stop sharing that. I will bring the PowerPoint up one more time, and we'll close out here.
And Michelle, since there was an interest
yeah.
in this group around like transitions and supporting students that might have some disabilities, I did put one resource in there that we have that's focused on that topic.
Thank you. That's great. So I'm going to bring this back up, and we will close out. We will start to close out here a little bit. So one final thing, here's our QR code. Again, if you're not a member of the Links community, Chrissie talked all about the benefits of being part of a specific community group. I'll mention again that the Links community is Links' primary mode of communication and dissemination. So if you're part of the community, if you're a member of the community, you'll also receive the announcements via email anytime we post one of those federal initiatives has a new resource that they're sharing, has new information, has a new training, has a new webinar, other things that you're able to participate in. We recently posted something about the advanced IET projects, design camps, you know, all of that information comes through through the links community as well. In addition to the opportunities to be connected with others across the country who are like-minded. And then finally, you can reach out to myself or Chrissie. You can go directly to the website, and there's more contact information there. Any questions in our final few moments?
So the other thing we'll just remind everyone, you know, you can save items in the chat. I should be able to go to the chat and click on the three dots and save. My email was wrong on the other screen, so I did put it into the chat. But you can also email me through the links website as well. You can message the moderator. I actually wanted to highlight there was a COABE resource on blending college preparation and career development for adult students in New England. So again, relates to this topic that we're talking about today. So I put the link in there. The link to the bulletin that Michelle mentioned around those new IET briefs is there as well. So we shared quite a few different resources today, gave you some different ideas, and we hope that you found this to be helpful. And we'll stay on for another minute or two if there's any other questions about links or about using professional development as a way to support your staff and supporting adults with transition to post-secondary.
Thank you, Chrissie, and thank you all for joining us. I'll just put this up here. Links is operated by the American Institutes for Research under contract with the Department of Education and OCTAE. So this is just our disclaimer that we do not speak on their behalf. But thank you for joining us today, and we hope to see you on links.